if you had to measure all the portions, just like the whole Weight Watchers program, things like that, if you're counting all of that, it's too much for me, too time consuming. I would have never done it.
Hey Carnivores, before we get to the Dave Mack interview, which I was very privileged and honored to speak with him the other night, I wanted to give you a couple of exciting updates. First, stay tuned to the end for a very exciting announcement about our meetup coming to Austin, Texas with the Healing Humanity team. And there's going to be more information about that. And honestly, my friends Ribeye Ranger and Lynn Tucker Carnivore couldn't have said it any better than me, so they did a great job with the advertisement. I'm going to show you their advertisement. I'm also going to put a link in the description notes below that you can go check it out on their channel too, but stay tuned for that information. But yeah, that's one of the exciting updates. I am honored and privileged to be working a little closer with the Healing Humanity team. There we go. Super excited about the involvement that I've got there and working together with some of their events. The next one is going to be a big one. It's at the end of this month, May 31st through June 2nd, I believe, but our big events are going to be on June 2nd for our meetup, and then the Hack Your Health Conference, which I believe is May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd. So super excited. If you're going to be in attendance, please put in the comments, let me know. Love to meet up with as many carnivores and many of you guys that have been watching our channel at this conference as possible. So please make sure you put your comments in there so we can make sure we have a chance to get together. We love the support that we get, and we appreciate all those who watch and love to meeting other carnivores in person. So make sure you let us know. Now for the interview with Dave Mack. For those who haven't watched Dave Mack, his link will also be in my channel notes, but he's incredible. He's got some incredible interviews. I think he's over 300 interviews of various carnivores and people who have healed through nutrition and this diet change. And so I had the honor and privilege of speaking with him and talk a little bit about my story. And I hope you'll enjoy it. Stay tuned.
Ashley, how did you find Carnivore?
Hey, Dave. Well, I actually found Carnivore from an introduction from my friend. We had been talking a lot about the different struggles and different things that I had going on as we got closer in a men's group from church. And he just asked me, he goes, "Have you ever heard of Carnivore?" And I said, "No, what's Carnivore?" So he described a little bit and got me kind of interested and very, very curious. And so I started doing a lot of research towards it. But my intrigue in the carnivore and what he was saying went back to really when I first was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which was total of probably about 8 years ago. And at the time, I had no idea what diabetes was. I mean, zero ideas. I'd heard the word. I knew it was bad. I didn't know anything more than that. I didn't know life-threatening. I didn't know the end results of it. I was 40 years old, and it was just that time where I felt like I was getting older. I should probably go to the doctor and get some blood work done. And it was in the back of my mind, but I started feeling really, really terrible. And I had gotten up to where I was my heaviest weight, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 260 pounds. And all of a sudden, after a course of about 2 months, I started losing a considerable amount of weight. And I didn't do anything. I wasn't changing my diet. I was still drinking tons of Dr. Peppers every single day, not exercising. Just, I was like, why am I losing this weight? And to be honest, I thought I had cancer. I was like, there's something wrong internally. That's why I'm losing so much weight. I need to go to the doctor. I finally convinced myself to go to the doctor, and that's when we had blood work run. And when we did that, my A1C, which is of course now the marker that I know very well for type 2 diabetes, my A1C was 11.1, which is very high, extremely high. And my cholesterol was through the roof. In fact, they couldn't even measure my total cholesterol because it was so high, but they did get my triglyceride measurement, and it was over 1,300, which is absolutely off the chart. Yeah, normal range is 0 to 150. I see the look on your face. Yeah, it was high. Now, I do asterisk that a little bit because that was 8 years ago. It was before I knew anything about blood work or anything. I don't know that I went into that completely fasted, I really don't remember. So to be honest, that may have been elevated, but it was still very, very high. My cholesterol obviously still had some major issues. And my A1C, that's a 3-month average. So that didn't happen from what I ate the night before or whatever that was. That's in a 3-month average marker. So it was extremely high. So doctor was very concerned. Obviously, he immediately wanted to prescribe some medicines, and that's where I, just based on my upbringing and kind of my beliefs, I didn't want to go on medicine right away. And I said, is there any other way? Can I change my diet? Can I exercise? I've never done anything else to help myself. And of course he said, yeah, diet and exercise are important, but you have to go on these medicines. That's out. You're too far gone at this point. You have to do that. So he prescribed medicines. I ended up not picking him up, but he also set me up with a nutritionist. And so we had an appointment with a nutritionist. And at that time, my wife had been going through some difficulties of her own and really done a lot of research and isolated it down to a gluten intolerance and likely celiac. But at that time, there wasn't a lot of awareness about that, or it was just kind of catching on a little bit. But she'd done a ton of research, and I knew a little bit from her journey about that. And so when I went into the nutritionist and we started talking about the solutions, and she started recommending probably the standard American nutrition way, just eat sugars in moderation. You can have this, you can have that, but don't eat a whole package of Oreo. Just eat 1 or 2. And I was confused. I looked at her, I said, well, why wouldn't I just cut it all out? If sugars and carbs are the main reason, why wouldn't I just cut it out? Oh, you can't do that. You have to have some carbs. It's okay to have some sugars. You just have to do it in moderation. And then just out of an inkling, I said, well, tell me about gluten. What about gluten? And the nutritionist said, well, what is gluten? So right then I was like, okay, I'm not buying into any of this. I don't feel that she's a professional, and like, how do you not know about that? Again, this was 8 years ago, but that really led me down a path of, I've got to get more opinions on this, and I got to figure this out. So I went to a very trusted chiropractor who I'd been seeing at the time, who was very into natural healing and oils and different things. And I said, hey, give me this go. Am I going to die tomorrow? What can we do? And he said, no, let's see. He explained it in a way that I've never heard before, but he talked about how your liver is incredibly regenerative, and it's healing. If you can take care of it, it will heal. It will replenish itself. And right now, he told me my liver is sick, my pancreas is sick, and my kidneys are sick. And he goes, once you can fix your liver, the other 2 organs won't have to work quite as hard, and they'll start to fix themselves, and then you can get that back in shape. He said, but it's going to take time. And it's going to be, strict diet change. I said, okay, I'm in. What do I need to do? And so my wife had already kind of figured out the solution. And back then we started on a paleo diet, and which is very similar. It's a real elimination of carbs and sugars. But at that time, I didn't even know what a carb or sugar was. So my wife had to tell me, a potato is a carb. You can't have that. And bread, you can't have that. And pasta, you can't have that. And I was mind blown. Like, what do you mean? I felt so restricted. I couldn't have anything. What am I going to do? I didn't want to give any of that up, but I was scared. So thankfully, that was enough to push me to a very strict, if I knew it was in there, I got rid of it. I didn't cheat for 3 months. I really did good. But what that did is when I went back in for blood work in 3 months, my A1C actually dropped down to 5.7. So it went from 11.1 in 3 months' time to 5.7. And what that proved to me was that diet really has an impact on these scores. And I was just learning about diabetes, but I was like, hey, if I can impact it that much in 3 months, this is a piece of cake. And of course, what did I do to go reward myself for doing such a great job for 3 months? I went and had pizza and an ice cream. And so, that's just, again, my ignorance, not knowing what it's all about, right? I've learned a lot over these last 8 years. So, what turned into a reward, and I can do this occasionally. I'll do it once a month. I'll have a cheat, and that became once a week. And then I was back to pretty much my old eating habits, and everything kind of came back. And I was at that point, using a glucometer to prick my finger and measure my blood. I knew that the blood sugar levels were high again, but I just kept saying in the back of my head, I'll fix it later. I'll fix it later. Or every time I'd get motivated, it'd be 2 or 3 days, and then I'd cheat again with something else. And so it's very hard to break that sugar addiction, which now I know is a sugar addiction. And that was very, very challenging to me. So I'd gotten back to the point where I knew my A1C was bad. I knew my diabetes was going crazy again. I wasn't feeling good again, and that's about the time that my friend interacted with me, and we were talking about that, and that's when he asked me about the carnivore diet. So I was like, okay, let me do some more research. And he turned me on to, of course, Dr. Berry. I went on YouTube and I started watching all of Dr. Berry's videos and everything like that. And it was fascinating to me. And I love meat. I feel like, hey, this is something I could do. So I decided this is something I'm probably going to do, but it was one of those, I'll wait till after the holidays. It was November, it was December, but I did start cutting back on my carbs and sugars because I knew that, was the main thing from my experience previous. Yeah, so I first started carnivore, finally made up my mind I was going to do it all in February 2023. And that was just after I'd done about 2-3 months of research. I was ready to make an effort. I'd lined up my plans. I'd gotten my meat bought, and I was ready to go all in and do this. So started on that path and did really, really well for the first month. Second month, I really didn't cheat very much at all. If I knew it, I was really being strict. My wife was supporting of me, and that was fantastic. And I just really tried to eat a ribeye. I had tried to eat hamburger. I had tried to eat just pretty much beef, eggs, butter, and bacon, just from the basic level of what I knew about the carnivore diet. And it was about 2 months later, when Kerry released his, maybe 3 months, but when Kerry released his 30-day video, that's really what took that motivation to the next level. I saw that. I saw all the healing that happened to him. I was experiencing a lot of that too. And when I saw his videos, like, yeah, that was me too. I'm getting up in the mornings like with a ton of energy. I just feel completely different. It's amazing. It's not just the inside work. All these other things are happening to me. And the poundage was just dropping off. I was losing weight. That was huge. So I got super motivated there. And then my brother, we're called the Carnivore Brothers for a reason. I'm Ashley. My brother is Rhett. And if you've seen our channel, he's on there with me a lot, but he reached out to me not knowing anything about this, and he had seen a picture on Facebook of me, and he called me one night and he said, dude, what are you doing? Like, you look incredible. What's going on? And so I just got all excited, and I told him, he's my brother. Up until that point, I was kind of shy about talking about what it was, because everybody else that I talked to about said, you're crazy. This is nuts. What are you doing? You're going to have a heart attack. All this, the same stuff that we hear. But not my brother. My brother was like, tell me, he goes, I'm over 300 pounds right now. I've got to do something to change my life. I'm like, here's what I'm doing. So told him all about it. And it was funny because he jumped all in, I think, the next day. Like he didn't even do all the research. He was like, you tell me what to do, I'm in. I'm doing it. So it was remarkable, but we had a great time. It was good because I live in Texas. He lives in Washington. And so we were a long ways apart, but it was a great reconnection, a great conversation. We talked to each other, text each other almost every day about it, encouraged each other, motivated each other. And then when Kerry from Homestead House started to put together the information about this 24-hour live stream, who put it out there, he's like, hey, if you have a YouTube channel, put it out there. I'll invite you on. If you have a testimony, put it on there. And I started hearing this, and I told Rhett, I said, we're going to start a YouTube channel. And Rhett's like, I don't know. I said, okay, well, we'll think about it. And anyway, we got closer and closer to the date, and I called him up. I said, I just signed us up. We're called Carnivore Brothers. You're in it with me. you don't have to post videos if you don't want to, but we're doing it together because you're my motivation as well. And so that's why we started the Carnivore Brothers channel. And it really was just a motivation to tell our story, because at that point, Rhett was already starting to see a lot of weight loss. He struggled with depression and anxiety, saw that lift almost immediately, to the point where he didn't even really want to talk about it. He didn't believe it. He was like, is this real? Like, I don't feel my depression anymore. My anxiety attacks are gone. And so it took a while before he even wanted to start talking about it. But we're just seeing great results. And so it was fantastic. And the more we've got into it, the more, I guess, vocal I've become about it. And I'm telling as many people as I can about it. We use our YouTube channel to try and document our story, and hopefully share that with others. Well, immediately, my parents reached out to me You look great. Rhett's lost this crazy amount of weight. What's going on? What are you guys doing? And I told my mom about it when I first started, and she told me, she swears she didn't say I was crazy, but she said, "Oh, this is nuts. I don't think you should do this." And she gave me all the, you know, you got to eat your veggies, you got to do all this. So 6 months or so down the road, after we're seeing these results, she says, "Okay, tell me about it. I need to lose some weight too. Dad needs to lose some weight too. Let's go." And they jumped in and they started doing it as well. And immediately they started. My mom and dad, they both lost about 35. See, dad's down 40 pounds, mom's down 35 pounds. They look and feel terrific. And that's the biggest thing. The energy level is totally different. They're 70, both 70, mom's 78, dad's 79. And they just, it's like they got a new lease on life. And especially my dad. He was to that point where he was just fine with sitting down in the reclining chair and just doing nothing and just, you know, getting old and growing old. And that was going to be his life. And now, oh my word, he's out there, he's doing the yard work. It's just amazing seeing the difference. He's just high energy and got a new lease on life now. So, love seeing that. And, awesome. Yeah, so it was fun. It was fun. And, we've had several others. So now that we both, Rhett and I have done it for over a year, I've got actually a twin brother as well. And, he's started on that. He's now 2 months in and 3 months in, maybe. Wow, time flies, but he's feeling great. My sister's doing it, her husband's doing it, and it's really kind of been fun to watch the whole family, just the healing that we've seen in the family from a lot of things that through diet. And so it's just proven beyond a shadow of doubt to me that there's some amazing healing powers to putting the right nutrition in your body.
You know, this is the awesome thing, because this is like the kind of the network marketing power of carnivore. Yeah. You know, like you've got all these people in your family on it, right? And then each of those family members go and tell 2 or 3 people, and then it just spreads like this, right?
That's right. That's right. And what's wild about it, and what I wish was almost more of a big flashing neon sign, was the other off-scale victories that a lot of people have, that, you know, you don't really see that, but the weight is what people pick up on, right? If you're really heavy, my brother was 300 pounds. So when he dropped 100 pounds, people were noticing, what in the world are you doing, right? That's noticeable. But he and I will both tell you to this day, it's not just the weight, it's how good we feel. It's all the other things. For him, the depression, anxiety, and he'll tell his story. I think he's about to actually leave on a journey tomorrow to kind of get back on track, but he fell off the wagon a little bit. And I'll let him at some point tell the story, but just briefly, I can tell you that going backwards, and he said he had his first anxiety attack that he's had in a long time. His depression came back. There were several things that he's like, I know the difference now. He goes, I know this is terrible, and I've got to get back on the carnivore diet. And so he starts a journey tomorrow to get that going again. So super excited for him and praying that he does well on that, and I know he will. So, so hopefully we'll have a story to tell about that again here soon.
Yeah. And as bad as those things can be, when those, you know, the anxiety or the depression or the other issues that we had in the past come back, I guess they can be good kind of guardrails, because it can be kind of like, okay, do you really want to go back here, or should we get back on the carnivore path?
Well, you're exactly right. That's kind of the fun thing about it. You actually get to feel those differences, and so now I feel like I'm much more in tune with my body. And you know, when I do go back and I test, we had some organic dried mangoes that 0 sugar, everything was great, and I had those the other day. Oh, they tasted great, but it was funny the next day how much gas I had. I mean, it was like the bloating, and I could feel it in my stomach, and that was the only thing different I had. And so I would have never associated fruit with that prior to this, right? And so many of those things we're able to kind of see what worked, what doesn't work. But that's you know, for him, going back to eating I mean, he was still eating decent, but he was not eating fully strict the way he was before, and he immediately notice a difference.
For you, you've had a lot of improvements, and coupled with the weight loss. But like when you think about those non-scale victories, on a practical level, how is your normal day-to-day different now than it was before?
I think the biggest thing is I feel so good. I just feel like learning more. I feel like working out some. I feel like explaining what I've experienced to other people. I'm super, super excited and blessed that I have been able to be involved kind of in the background on the Healing Humanity documentary, and working with Kerry and Adam and the team on that, and super excited about some of the stuff that I'm able to do in the background, because I really feel like this is going to change a lot of hopefully how medicine is practiced in America. I'm really on the diabetes education path to try and really help that out. So I love what Dr. Berry is now doing with the American Diabetes Society, and starting that, and the focus that he's got on that. I'm really seeing a path forward, and I want to be a part of it. And so I think that's where I've got a real passion about it now, and because I've seen the results, and I don't want to say it's easy, but when people struggle all of their lives, and I keep hearing these stories of all the medicine that they've dealt with, the type 2 diabetes for years and decades, of the struggles that they've had, and to find out that people can reverse and fix a lot of that, come off of their meds within months, sometimes weeks, like that where they feel that impact, they feel the difference, those aches, those pains, all of that is healing and going away. I want to be a voice. I want to be a voice for it. And so that's really, I think, a big change in my life. And it is still hard. I work for a company that works within the medical field. I recruit doctors, and that's part of my role. But it's also been very fascinating to have a lot of sidebar conversations as well, being in that industry. And I just think that is something that is really, really remarkable to hear some inside takes off the record, if you will, from the clinician aspect.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I would be very tempted to kind of go, hey, Doc, can I just talk to you about something for a second?
I have to several of my trusted doctors who I've worked with for many years. And I've said, hey, tell me what you think about this. And so we've had some off the record conversations. They still have to practice the way they have to practice. So that's why I'm just so thankful to some of the brave doctors who are stepping out and trying to help change some of the way that medicines are prescribed, and just different alternatives with their nutrition.
So is your wife still doing paleo?
So yeah, well, she definitely got rid of the gluten. She knows that impacts her severely. I've witnessed it, seen it, and it definitely does. She is pretty much paleo, and she's been kind of off and on, and she's battled with some things too. But she's actually been more carnivore than anything else here with me over the last 2 months. She's really been giving it an effort, and she really wants to see it on the scale very badly. But she's not seeing it on the scale right now. She's definitely seeing it in her measurements, and which is great. And that I've told her that happens to a lot of people. But I really wish I understood more of the why behind that, because I know if she saw it on the scale, she would be that much more motivated. But she's about 2 months in, very solid, and doing great. So she's not one yet to talk about it, but when people start complimenting her at church and other things, and notice the changes going on, of course, you can't help but get motivated by that. So she's been doing really well with that.
And when you're at church, I mean, are you talking to people and they're kind of saying like, what's going on? You're looking much better. How do I do that?
Yeah. And so I'm definitely not, I've tried to shorten my elevator pitch a little bit, if you will, because, used to, when somebody would say that, I would just start blah, 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 just go crazy and start telling them about everything. And I think they're just like, okay, hold on, wow, this is not for me. So I've had to shorten my elevator pitch a little bit and just kind of go in a little bit less aggressively. But the friend of mine who introduced me to Carnivore, his name is Chris. He actually also goes to our church, and we were part of a men's group at that time that was getting together on a pretty regular basis. And we were very open and talked about it because there were many times we'd get together and go out to eat or whatever else. And so, yeah, he and I, it was nice to be able to have him as a partner in crime during this. But he's a great guy. He's in the behavioral health sector, and he's done a lot of making a lot of change and impact on, especially in kids' lives, and very much incorporates nutrition into that as well. So he's really loved that the pathway that Dr. Eid is doing, and some of those others about, you know, the behavioral health stuff that has such an impact. So it's he's been side by side with me on this, and we've definitely made some influences there and had a lot of people asking what's going on, which is very, very cool. So just hope to be an example and an influence, and when we can be, hopefully other people will continue to ask questions and we'll continue to share.
Yeah. How are you eating day to day now?
I really have come back into where I almost got down to what my goal weight was. I actually reached 180, which was my high school weight that I can remember. And at that point, I did start going back to more of 2 meals a day. I was doing pretty much OMAD, and I was just fine with it. Very, very satiated. Didn't really need more than that. Then I went back to 2 meals a day for a little while, and I've kind of just seen my weight kind of fluctuate a little bit up and down, but 1 to 2 meals a day. Usually a ribeye. I'm fortunate to live in Texas, so we get a lot of good deals on the steak. And when ribeyes go on sale, I buy a bunch of it. I have a vacuum sealer. I seal them up and throw them in the freezer, and we've had a good steady diet of steak. I love my smoked meats, so I'll smoke a lot of brisket and do a lot of things on the smoker, but it's all meat based. And I think what people initially came at me with was that the expense of it, right? And I've just absolutely shoot that down real quick. Being in Texas, I can tell them very, very quickly that I can have a ribeye steak every single night, which is amazing to me, and do it for about $8. If I go to any fast food chain and get a fast food meal, I'm spending $13 to $15. And so for almost half the price, I'm eating a ribeye steak. I mean, that's a pretty convincing argument when somebody says it's too expensive. So, and then I start telling them about all the other stuff that I don't eat. I don't do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm not snacking all throughout the day. So all the other money that I'm saving throughout it, it's pretty easy to win that argument when you're talking about expenses. I think people just don't realize it because they think I got to spend $50 for ribeye at a restaurant. You don't, especially when you cook a ribeye every day for a year. You get pretty good at cooking them, and I'd take my ribeye over the restaurants any day of the week.
So on that point, you're not thinking about food as much. You probably, as a result, not spending as much time in the kitchen or as much time in convenience stores and that kind of thing. There's no snacking. So do you feel like you've got back a lot of time since you went Carnivore?
For sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Now I'm still the chef in our family. So I do. And because I pretty much cook the protein, I cook the meat for everybody. And so my wife and my daughter fend for themselves a little bit. My daughter's not fully, she's eating so much better, but she's not fully carnivore or anything, but she kind of fends for herself with the rest of it. So I cook a lot in bulk on the weekends. We kind of make a lot of the meals for the rest of the week so that everybody's got something. But I end up cooking, we cook 3 different types of proteins all to get us through the week. Hamburgers and, bacon's a staple. So we always have some bacon available, eggs, usually an egg casserole for the morning, something like that. And so we're all fed for the week, and then it's just everybody fending for themselves to eat the meal. So it's been nice to be able to cook a steak for both my wife and I each night. And
that sounds super efficient.
Yeah,
you should be a project manager. The way you're getting all the food ready. Yeah. I just find it easier to do all at once, and I've gotten, we've got some of our staples that we cook all at once, so you can have multiple things going at once and prepare it all, and
portioned it out. We're not as strict as some people do the whole portion control and weigh everything out. We just, Ziploc bags, containers, we throw it in the refrigerator and portion it out as we need it.
I think, well, that's one of the good things about carnivore as well. You don't have to worry about the sizes as much. You don't have to think about, oh, am I having too much fat or am I having too much of this or that,
Yeah. I've never measured macros. And if I did, if that was something that was required, I probably wouldn't have been successful on it because I don't know enough about that. If somebody says just eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, all right, I can do that. But if somebody says you got to measure out this much of beef, this much of butter, this much of it, I wouldn't have done it. And so I love the simplicity that you can have success. Of course, those who do get into all that and the macros, I know there's a lot more you can probably do with tweaking and try and figure out exactly what's right for your body. And as you progress, you can get into that. But to start out and to make all the changes and what so many people feel is being restricted from not having all the carbs and sugars, if you had to measure all the portions, just like the whole Weight Watchers program, things like that, if you're counting all of that, it's too much for me, too time consuming. I would have never done it.
One of your friends comes to you and says, look, I wanna get results like you're getting, but I'm just not sure about this carnivore thing. What would you say to them to convince them that this is the way to go?
Well, I love that there's so much information out there. And so I didn't talk about this, but when I first found out I had diabetes, I looked for that magic pill. I didn't want to go on medicine, but I did scour the internet and like, what can I do to reverse type 2 diabetes? And if you just punch in reverse type 2 diabetes, you get a whole slew of solutions and pill bottles and magic pills that they'll send you. And I bought a bunch of them trying to find the one that worked for me. And I never found anything that was successful. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I didn't find anything that was successful. So the first thing that I would do to say to that person is I do steer them back to the people that I saw success with. So the Dr. Berries, the Dr. Chaffees, the ones that have the MD behind their name, because that's respected, right? So it's my doctor says I really shouldn't eat all this red meat. Well, when you have another doctor says you can absolutely eat all the red meat and be fine with it, that weighs more than that. But I'll say those were my experts. Those are the people that I went to, and I had to watch a lot of their videos and I had to study it and I had to get to where I trusted that. But then I'd go back to the comments. I point back to the comments. I said, not only are you seeing my results, but I can point you to my brother. I can point you to my parents. I can point you to all my family members that have had the success. And then just look at this and this and this and this. And I just start giving them an example. I said, go explore it yourself. Go explore it and find out. So that's what I mean. The success stories, as Dr. Kilt says, the documented stories, that's what matters. And when you start seeing it over and over and over again, it really becomes undeniable. It really does.
That's the thing. I mean, like every other diet out there, there's 90% of the people that be writing about the diets, probably more than that, would be saying, well, this doesn't work, or I tried this and I didn't have success, or I tried this and it was okay for 2 weeks and then I started putting weight back on or something.
Yeah.
Carnivore seems to be the only one where, 100% of the time it's the opposite. It's like, this is great, feel better than I ever have before, never going back.
Yeah. And then all you start hearing about when you start digging in, all of these people who have had the success. I mean, look how many YouTube channels have popped up. Look at how many things are going on where people just want to talk about it and want to tell you about it after they've had that success, right? And then people start realizing, wow, this also, wait, I got rid of my snoring. I got rid of like all these weird, strange things that start happening. You're like, there's no way that can all be related to the diet. And you start finding out more and more that is true. I mean, your story of vision and that impacting on your eyes and things, it just blows me away. When you hear different things, you think, oh, that should have nothing to do with correcting and healing in your diet. But we're just learning more and more that it absolutely does. It's amazing to me.
I think just as you were saying that, I had another thought there. Like, if someone said to you, if you were doing some kind of calories in, calories out diet or something, someone says to you, oh, you've lost a couple of pounds recently, haven't you? You're looking a bit better. Like the response would be more like, oh, you're reminding me I'm hungry. and the response might be a kind of a look
Yeah.
down and, oh yeah, I've lost some weight. But then if you said that to a carnivore, the response would be bright eyes and, oh, okay, let me tell you what's happened.
Well, exactly. And the other thing that weighs into that too, I mean, I'm just going to say with you talk about people at church, there was a pretty good movement of a particular diet that was going through our church there for a little while. And some people lost a considerable amount of weight. And so it started catching on because, especially the ladies, they were noticing that. And so they each wanted to do that. Sadly, almost every one of those have got back up to their original weight, at least visually, right? It kind of looks that way because it was expensive. It was high monthly cost. It was a lot of measuring. It was a lot of tracking stuff, and it just wasn't sustainable. And I think that's one of the biggest things about a carnivore diet. It's very sustainable. It's a way of life. And once you get used to that and you get over the sugar addictions, those cravings are gone. Not completely, I would sure probably love to have something, but I look at the donuts, the things that I used to just like not be able to pass up. Like if it was there, I ate it. But now I'd look at that completely different. It's almost poison to my body. I don't want it. I have no desire to have it. And that's what's remarkable to me is I used to be the guy in the office that got made fun of. Like if there was free food out, that was my weakness. They always said, all right, Ashley will finish it off, or if there was extra breakfast burritos, give them to Ashley. If there was extra something that brought in, I was the one who took care of it. So, I was known in the office for that. So, to be able to like completely walk past that table of breakfast donuts and breakfast burritos and whatever it is, and just not even have a temptation on it, that's what's remarkable to me. I mean, it's crazy how much I've changed in that manner, and it's taken time.
Yeah. So sky's the limit. How much money would you accept to go back to a regular diet?
That's a good question, Dave, because I don't want to sound like give you the answer of it's priceless, but to me, my health is not worth it. I've been down the road to where I was scared for my life. And some people have to hit that rock bottom and further rock bottom to make those kind of changes. But I grew up in a healthy home. My mother was one of the few who didn't allow us to have the sugary breakfast cereals, and she really tried to keep us away from a lot of that. But when I moved to college and I got off my own, I went crazy. And it was like, oh, sugar, 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 whatever I wanted to eat, I did. And that's where I really kind of lost control of things. But I was always athletic. I was always active. And it just never really impacted me because my body, my metabolism, everything else, I was younger. I was okay. But when I started getting 40 and it started impacting me, I had to make some life decisions. And I'm thankful to God that it did. I mean, that it was revealed to me that if you don't make some changes, you're gonna have one of these. The rest of your life is going to be on medications and doing all the things that I just didn't want to be a part of. So I've got a beautiful 15-year-old daughter, and that, of course, 8 years ago, she's one of my main motivations. That I don't plan on leaving the earth early, God willing. I'll stay. I want to be part of her life as long as I'm here on this earth. And I needed to change. I needed to get healthy. And I feel like I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I tell people all the time that I feel like I'm back in my 30s again. And I'm approaching 50 and I feel 30. And that's what's crazy. That's what's crazy.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel? How can we find you and what kind of videos have you got on there?
Yeah, it's Carnivore Brothers on YouTube. And then Rhett and I both post our own videos. Because we live so far apart, it's very rare that we've been able to be together. But we post some of our own videos, and I think that's probably confused some people. So I'm Carnivore Brothers Ashley. He's Carnivore Brothers Rhett. And when we go on, we separate our names out when we're on the chats and stuff like that, because a lot of people are like, well, is this Ashley or Rhett? So, but we do it as we motivate each other, and it's been fun to do some live streams and some interviews and stuff like that together. We've definitely enjoyed that. And part of it's a motivation thing for each other and holding each other accountable. But I've really made some changes, and we both made some changes on what we're wanting to do with it. in this year, and a lot of that is trying to get more involved with, you know, the Healing Humanity movement, and just for me, type 2 diabetes, and really trying to get some more educational materials out on that. So the first year was really kind of documenting our journey. We both love to cook. We love to smoke meats. We love to do that kind of stuff. So we posted a lot of recipe type videos, and, you know, I'm really surprised because I grew up cooking steaks. I worked in a steakhouse, so I've always cooked steaks, but there are a lot of people who don't know how to cook a steak, or they're intimidated by it. So just the simplicity of it. Taking meats and taking a big chuck eye, for example, buying it for inexpensive, then breaking that down. I've done some videos on that, how to do that with fillets and chuck eyes and things like that, and get less expensive meat and break them down into steaks yourself and things like that. So you'll see more of that on our channel. That's really what we're trying to show. And then hopefully this next year we'll see a lot more of the community involvement. It's probably one of the biggest things that if the other piece, when you asked me earlier about what do I tell somebody, get involved in the community, just like anything else. If you're involved with your church group, with your, you know, at school, whatever it is, the more you're involved, the more you're invested in it. And just like carnivore, if you're not involved and you're trying to be out there and do it on your own, you probably won't have success. But when you're involved in a community and you're doing these kind of conversations, or you're listening to the YouTube videos, or you're on a Facebook page, there's so many good community groups that are out there. I think that's a key to sustaining and getting through the difficulties. I want to be more involved with that. And we've got some plans in the works of how we're going to be more involved in some communities, and some platforms that are coming out soon, hopefully, that we'll be able to make some announcements on, and we're definitely going to be involved in that.
Nice. Well, I'll link to your channel below. And Ashley, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. And can I make one more plug? Because of time related stuff, we want to make sure anybody who knows about it and try and spread the word. But at the end of this month, we've got Hack Your Health in Austin, Texas. I'm going to that, so I'm hoping to meet a lot of other carnivores there. I'm super, super excited about. That's that community piece that I'm super excited about. The picture behind me, sorry, I got to figure out which way to lean. That was at a meetup that I went to on, if you know, Carnivore Soldier. That was in Austin, Texas, that's my dad and me. And I just love going to these meetups and meeting people in person. So we've got Hack Your Health at Austin, and then we've got a couple of really cool events. And we just started publishing our meetup that we're doing with the Healing Humanity documentary. We've got limited amount of tickets for sale. We're doing it as a fundraiser. And so I'll try and get the information so we can post that on the video there too, for anybody who's interested in that, and some other big announcements that are coming really soon for the end of the month. So stay tuned to the channels on that. We're super excited about some of these events that are coming up.
Hi, Ribeye Ranger here.
And Lynn Tucker Carnivore. We've got some really big news about the fundraising event for the groundbreaking documentary, Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet.
It's going to be in Austin, Texas, Sunday, June 2nd, 2024, from 5 to 7 p.m. Yup, just at the close of the Hack Your Health event. If you will be attending Hack Your Health, this Sunday dinner will be the perfect way to punctuate a weekend filled with outstanding speakers. And if you won't be able to hit the seminars, but you'd still like to meet some key players, here's your chance.
Dine with Dr. Chaffee, Bella Ma, Adam Lacy, Todd Bachnis, Limitless Lindy, Ashley Rogers, Who's Your Carnivore Brett, All Things Audra, Ribeye Ranger and Lynn Tucker Carnivore, and of course, Kerry Mann of Homestead How and Healing Humanity. And we want you to be there too, so join us Sunday, June 2nd, 2024. It's a way to show your support for the Healing Humanity documentary. So join us for dinner at Casa do Brasil from 5 to 7 p.m. and get your tickets now at the Eventbrite link below. It's $150 per person, where $80 covers your meal, your non-alcoholic drinks, tax, and gratuity.
And the rest goes to the Healing Humanity documentary. Tickets are limited through Eventbrite at the link below. Now, if you can't be there in person, here's another way you can support this groundbreaking documentary. Go to the GoFundMe link on your screen right now And of course, we'll put the link in the description below.
See you there.